Blah. In this video, I'm going to be trying to place Malivore on the timeline with my limited knowledge of Legacies. Now, a lot of people only seen Legacies like maybe like once or twice, right? Maybe even just once. You feel me? Not even all the way through. Probably like the first episode and just bounced. You know what I mean? But what I'm going to try to do is insane. You feel me? I've seen it maybe once, twice, three. I've seen it 3 times in totality. And I've been trying to like get through the 4th time, but I have so many TV shows backed up to the point where it's like I'm barely getting to Legacies these days. But it's fine though, I'll get it to it eventually. Okay, here we go. I'm about to place Malivore. Like, we're about to go through like a lot of his stuff, like lore or whatever, just like off memory, off vague, obscure memory. So if it's incorrect, it's incorrect. But you feel me? If it's a little bit on the spot, then you dig me. Okay, so we're gonna start with the Mycosynths first. You feel me? The Mycosynths is 1,000 years old. As far as centuries, this is the weird part about centuries. That's why I always found like centuries to be really weird as far as like 21st century, the 20th century, the 19th century, because it's always a century behind. So if we're talking about the Mycosynths, right? They were 1,000 years old, but then they bring up something like 900 AD. You feel me? And what do you mean by that, right? Mycosynths, right? 900 AD. And that 900 AD would be the 10th century. And the 10th century would be, let me see. I have to wait for a second. Okay, so if we're talking about, if we're talking about like the 1300s, right? And the bubonic plague, right? That would be technically the 14th century. Right now we're in 2000 and whatever the heck. And this is the 21st century, right? But in the 1900s, that was the 20th century. In the 1800s, that was the 19th century. In the 1700s, right, that would be the 18th century. You see how, like, you get what I'm saying? Like in the 1600s, it would be like the 15th century, but in the 1400s, it would be the 13th, right? It's so weird. Well, let me see. Yeah, it's so weird like that. It's so weird. And so we're talking about the Mycosynths, right? So I'm still trying to place Malivore on the timeline here, started with them, but we're talking about the Mycosynths, and they're like 900 AD, right? This is right before you get to the 1000 part, right? We're like 900 AD. We're talking they're like 1,000 and something. They're like 1,000 and some change. I want to give it like, if it's 700 AD, then that's the 6th century probably. If it's the 800s, then it's the 7th century. If it's the 800s, then it's the 7th century. It's the 900s, then it's the 8th century. I don't know. It's so difficult, right? It's so difficult. That's the one thing about history I do not like, bro. But anyways, they're 1,000 years old, right? And like 200 years after they're born, right? So they're like 200 years into vampirism now. Malivore is created. You feel me? So by this ancient vampire, this ancient witch, this ancient werewolf, right? They create this golem, right? And they wanted to take out this dragon. So that is what it is. And so that happens like 200 years after, what's it called? The like 200 years into like the Mycosynths vampirism, you know? And so when we're talking about Malivore here in this moment, he's on the timeline now, and he just consumed like a dragon, and he's consuming all these other people. Well, I said all these other species, right? I think he like betrayed no, he made a deal with the humans, right? No, okay. He couldn't go after the vampires, the werewolves, or the witches, right? They tried to put him down, but then the humans, like he made the Malivore made the deal with the humans, right, to stop him getting put down by the vampires, witches, and werewolves. Because the humans, he made the deal that he was going to take out all the other species. You feel me? Just in general. You dig me? As far outside of the vampires, witches, and werewolves. But yeah. So they had to let him go. The vampires, witches, and werewolves had to let him go. You know what I mean? After that happens, right? So mind you, I'm about to be very concise here. Malivore was eating, right? You feel me? The more he eats, the more sentient he becomes, the more like intellectual he becomes, the more human he becomes almost, you know? So he's eating. And the moment he's created, he's eating creatures that's already on the timeline, right? That's already are old creatures, old species. We're talking dragons here. They're natural species. You feel me? They're not Cleo made. You know what I mean? They're natural species on the timeline. That's by the way, guys, that's so weird to me, by the way, this whole Cleo thing, because there is a moment where you see like this figurine that Cleo made, right? And it's the ferryman. But a long time ago is when Lynn, right, Ken's sister, became, quote unquote, the ferryman, basically. You feel me? She became this way or whatever a long time ago. You feel me? She was, of course, herself at the beginning, but then she like wanted to like appear as this weird thing. You think me? Whatever the heck. The time wanted to appear. I'm dead. I guess she like fell into like depression, started appearing like as like the skull person, whatever. But yeah, I don't know why Cleo had this like figurine of like the ferryman. I don't know why, but that would like be very contradicting to like, okay, Cleo made the ferryman, but basically Lynn was the ferryman for a long time before Cleo made this appearance of the ferryman. You know what I mean? Or this cosmetic look of the ferryman. But it's whatever though. Mind you, I only seen Legacies like 3 times, so I can't even go, word, you dig me? Like I ain't there with the lore that crazy. But it's cool. It's probably easily explainable, to be honest. If we're talking about like, so he's basically, Malivore's eating all these creatures that's on the timeline, right? And he's eating and consuming them naturally, right? There's creatures on the timeline before he ever meets Cleo to create more creatures so that he can eat on. You know what I mean? There's creatures already on the timeline outside of vampires, werewolves, and witches, right? We got the dragons, we got these people and those people and this people and these people and these people and those people. You know what I mean? We have gargoyles, right? Even gargoyles. That was crazy. And said, cool. So we get from like all the way back there, right? Boom. We're eating. And then we get like, I'm trying to put this whole timeline together. And then we get to like, to a moment to where we get to the 1400s, right? He's getting like, he's tired of like, you know what I mean? He's tired of like fighting for his food, so to speak, right? He says, whatever. Let me go to Cleo. Right, let me get this muse, right? Inspire and create these species for me, right? He goes and get Cleo. She's like 11 at this time, maybe 10. Do you dig me? He goes get her from like Nigeria, right, or something like that. In like 1860. Wait, in like 1464, not 1864, 1464. He goes to get Cleo, and what happens is she starts, mind you, so from like 800 years ago to the 1400s, right? So we're talking like, oh my gosh, I hate math and I suck at like the number stuff, but we have like 1,000 years, we have 980, so we have 1,000, then we have 1,100, right? 1,100, 1,200, 1,300, 1,400. Yeah, there we go. For 400 years, he's consuming, right? We know for a fact that 300 years he's consuming species after species that are vampires, witches, and werewolves. Well, that are not vampires, witches, and werewolves, right? So there are an insane amount of species on this mortal plane that is outside of vampires, witches, and werewolves that can sustain Malivore long enough to last 300 years. We know that for a fact because he lasted so long. You dig me? He lasted 300 years without ever meeting Cleo, right? And then on his 400th year, he was still consuming other natural occurring species, but he then meets Cleo, right, in 1464, and then he basically takes her, like, I guess consumes her, I suppose, and she starts to create species like for him to eat. So now we have species that are like 500 to 600 years old that's already consumed within him. Okay, cool. That's how we got the dragon and everything else, right? The gargoyle of it all, you know what I mean? But we also have creatures that are being newly created, right? You feel me? From like the 1400s to like, you dig me? So let me put into context, right? Before we have Cleo 1400s. Cleo is alive in the 1400s. From the 1400s, right? Going all the way to like Hope, which is like, I don't know when Legacies take place, maybe like 20, 29, 20, 30 something, 20, this, 2029, 2020, 2030 something. I don't know. You feel me? But it's like, we have Cleo all the way over here. That's like maybe 600-year difference. Genuinely speaking, that's probably like a 600-year difference. Okay, let's go here, right here, really quickly. Mind you, this 600-year difference is the new species. These are the new creatures. You feel me? This is before we ever get to Hope, right? These are the new creatures that are inside Malivore. You dig me? These are the new ones that she created for Malivore to consume. 1400s to like onward, right? You feel me? But then again, she escapes Malivore like that same she escapes Malivore that same century. But like, she created a species. Well, she created some species, right? A lot of them, to be honest, whilst inside of Malivore in the year in the century, in the 1400s, basically, right? Because it's that's what I'm talking about. If it's the 1400s, it's the 15th century. But if it's the 1500s, it's the 16th century. But if it's the this hundreds, if it's the 1800s, it's the 19th century. But yeah, that's the difference, the minute difference. Well, it's a huge difference, to be honest. The huge difference between the wording is so important. You feel me? But it's whatever though. She escapes Malivore in the 1400s, right? But it's fine though. It's fine because it's like, watch this. Because it's like, she still created species that's in the 1400s. So those species been alive or just been around, or not on the mortal plane for real. But I mean, but they've been like inside of Malivore since the 1400. You dig me? Going forward to like getting to Hope, that's like a 600-year difference. So like the people that Hope is fighting in Legacies, it's like 600. You dig me? At minimum, you dig me? I think maybe the only people that didn't come out like 600 off the Rizip was maybe like a Kai Parker. You know what I mean? I wanted to say a Ryan Clark, but I think he like I don't even think he was in there. I don't know. I mean, I guess low key. I don't know. Oh, I don't think so. No, I don't think so. Anyways, whatever. But like, you see, like the people that Hope is fighting is like 600 years old. You dig me? Because they was created by, these are a new species. They was created in the 1400s. You dig me? Even Cleo is technically like low key like 600 plus. I ain't gonna lie, she like low key like 600 plus. But anyways, now let's take it to this part. That's what I was really very I put an emphasis on this part because I wanted to show you guys what I'm about to say next, which is this part right here. Everything Malivore was consuming creatures prior to the 1400s. So with a mix of those people who are like 600 plus years old from the new species, there's species over here that's like probably like 1,000 years old, or the age may vary, but like there's species that are just been like that really got you know what I mean? Like they've been around for a long time. There's species over here that's been alive for a very, very A long time. The species over here that's been like some of the oldest species in the world, right? You feel me? You think moccasins are old? There's some of the oldest species in the world was consumed. You feel me? Back in Malivore's day before ever meeting a Cleo. So Hope is dealing with these species. Right here. I think this got in my. Hope is dealing with these species. And these species. Anyways, you remember if you ever seen Legacies, you know there's this thing like a nymph, right? I think it's called a nymph. But there's this like creature, this tree. You feel me? After this tree thing, I'm dead. This tree thing, right? And I'm pretty sure that tree thing was alive in the what 1500s, something like that. But anyways, to put Malivore right back onto the timeline here. After Cleo escapes Malivore in the 1400s, he like breaks from that bondage. You know what I mean? So he's back out in the world. But this time he does something a little different. This is where it gets interesting. If I'm correct, if I know my lore a little bit about Legacies at least, he ends up trying to start to create his own people. What do you mean by that, right? That's where you get the Ryan Clarks, right? And all these failed experiments like Ryan Clark, right? That's where you get, okay, I'm creating these people and I'm creating myself, my own image, right? He creates the Ryan Clark. Ryan Clark is failed, right? He's not a perfect human, you know what I mean? He creates Landon, you know what I mean? Wham, okay, cool, nice, brother, nice, you dig me? But anyways, years ago, I don't even know how Landon is, to be honest. I have to really rewatch Legacies, but I don't even know how Landon is like with us right now. You feel me? Oh, maybe Malivore slept with the Sia lady, right, which is Landon's mother, and then Sia found a way to get out of Malivore's, I don't know, like place of consumption or of consuming stomach, right, and then had the child in the 1900s. So maybe Malivore had Landon in the 1500s, 1600s, 1700s, 1800s, or whatever the heck. Maybe like the 1600s, right? Maybe he had like Landon in the 1600s with Sia, right? She gets out, but Sia, like, she's pregnant, right? But she stays pregnant inside of Malivore. I don't know why Malivore would consume her, but she stays pregnant inside of Malivore, right? And then around like the 1900s, then you feel me? What's it called? Well, or maybe the 2000s, right? Then like Malivore, she escapes Malivore in 2000s, right? In the 2000s, with whoop, 2010s or whatever the heck, whenever around Hope was born, right? Whatever, Hope and Landon was born, with whoop. And then she has the child, right, on the mortal plane. So from like the 1900s to like maybe the 1600s, right? You feel me? The Sia lady was pregnant for that whole entire time, but she just couldn't give birth because she was like, I guess, inside of Malivore or whatever the heck. But when she got outside of Malivore, she had the child, and then boom, right? I don't know. That would make a lot of sense for some reason, because that's the only way I see like Landon. Yeah, dig me with a whoop. Because what ends up happening to Malivore is he goes back into the black goo eventually anyway, probably like maybe 200 years afterwards. You feel me? So after Malivore creates Ryan Clark, he goes back into, wait for a second. After Malivore creates Ryan Clark, he goes back. Ryan Clark like betrays him like maybe 200 years later. You dig me? Like maybe 200 years later. So Cleo escapes him. He gets Cleo in the 1400s. She escapes him in the 1400s. He get out of her punishment, out of her the thing that she created for him in the 1400s, to be honest. He gets out of that and he's back walking amongst everyone. You know what I mean? So from like the 1500s, okay, he starts to create his own people, right? He's like, oh my gosh, let me create my own little whoop. And like maybe around like the 1700s. Oh, if it's like 200 years later, you feel me? Let's say like 1400s, he escapes. Okay, cool. he gets bored around like he gets bored, creates Ryan Clark or a whole bunch of people that's in this image, right? In the 1400s, in the later part of the 1400s, probably, right? And then what happens is Ryan Clark gets made. Okay, the 1500s come, you feel me, you feel me? That's nice. He's standing. They're still alive. I mean, both Malivore and Ryan Clark, they're chilling. And then the 1500s happens, right? And Ryan Clark decides to betray him, right? Decides to snitch on him to the humans and be like, he's trying to create his own people, blah, blah, blah. It's abomination against nature, right? And he gets turned into this black goo. So 1400s here, 1500s there, 1600s, the betrayal happens, theoretically, right? Which means it would be the 17th century. Which means it would be the 17th century. Right. So somewhere in that timeline, you feel me, for some reason, Blandon's mother, like, come to contact with Malivore and have like a kid while in Malivore or something. Like, I don't know. I don't think, like, what species would she be? I think if I remember correctly, she worked for Malivore. Like, she worked for like this triad company. That's what she did. She worked for the Triad Company, was one of the greatest chicken nuggets of all time. Like bounty people, or what's not bounty people. She was one of the greatest like assassin people, whatever the heck, of all time or whatever. And she got pregnant, but not by Malivore, by somebody else. But she got accidentally consumed or someone. No, what if the Triad like pushed her inside of Malivore? Like, she was pregnant, you feel me? But they pushed her inside of Malivore. I don't know who the father was. I don't know who Landon's father is. But what if they pushed her inside of Malivore? This is like I don't know. Because her clothes was very new as well. And she didn't speak with like an accent or anything like that. But it's fine though. I don't know. But it had to be around like Malivore gets turned into like a goo in the 1600s. I mean, it was the 17th century. Which means that something had to went down, yo. Something crazy. I don't know. But that's so fun. That's that lore that I be talking about, man. You can't make it up, man. You can't replicate it either. It's like perfection, yo. And you got to really deep dive into it to know everything about the show and to know everything about the universe. But anyways. So anyways, he gets turned to like a black goo, right? By like these people, right? By the vampire, by the humans who like hire witches to like turn them into a black goo, right? And then, I don't know, somehow Landon comes about, you know what I mean? And then there's that, you feel me? I think that's the end of this video. That's my knowledge on Malivore right now, you feel me? It's pretty all over the place. I know, because I haven't watched Legacies in a trillion years. Well, honestly, I go back to the Vampire Diaries and the originals and Legacies quite a lot. I just don't watch it in order, you know what I mean? And so I just like go back to very specific moments to like get like material for like a video or a TikTok or this or that. But it's fine though. It's so good. But that's all I have for this video. You know what I mean? I placed Malivore in the timeline as vaguely as I can remember it. I'm so sorry. It's all over the place, to be honest. But it was fun for me. I'm not gonna lie. What are your thoughts on like the Malivore? You know what? I don't even have to say what are your thoughts. I feel like a lot of people actually despise and hate the storyline of Malivore. So it is what it is. You feel me? Everyone has a generic take that like, that's a generic. Everyone has the same take that like, oh my gosh, Malivore sucks. And he's so ridiculous. And he's just like, blah, blah, blah. So it's whatever. I'm just gonna make this video to make this video. It was a fun video to make. I ain't gonna lie. Subscribe, like, and follow me on socials at Michi Explains. Follow me on Instagram at Michi Explains. Follow me on YouTube here. Well, subscribe here as well, I suppose. At Michi Explains. And on. Wait for a second. And I think that's it. I think that's it. I don't know. Yeah. Bye.